All right, hey everyone, welcome into another episode of the Spoiler Alert podcast. This might be my favorite episode yet, Ty. I know we've seen some good movies, but Saw X, Saw 10, whatever the hell we want to call it, this has been one I've had marked on my calendar for quite a bit. And they moved it up. It was originally supposed to be out October 27th, and they moved it up.
The rare moving up, and it actually works out for the better.
Yeah, what the hell? Because I think I was complaining earlier. I'm like, this is my birthday tradition. It needs to come out closer to the end of October. But hey, I really shouldn't be complaining if I get to see a movie earlier than expected.
Hell yeah.
So if you haven't figured it out, that is going to be the main thing we talk about in this episode. We will also be talking about the Wes Anderson short films that are on Netflix, all 4 of them. I've seen 3. Ty has seen all 4. So Ty is going to convince me to see The Swan or not. But we will be talking about all 4 of them and really how surprising they were.
Yeah, what a pleasant surprise those were. I mean, for a bunch of short films, I didn't have really high expectations at all. I really liked them all, actually. They're fucking awesome. So that's exciting.
You know, neither of us, obviously, we reviewed Asteroid City. Mm-hmm. And neither of us, like, it wasn't bad. It's just we're not big Wes Anderson dudes. So I think that was, good surprise for us.
Yeah, I think these in retrospect, made me like Asteroid City more too, as well.
Nice.
Now I want to watch it again now.
Yeah, give it another view.
Yeah,
look at it through a different lens. But before we get into the goods, we got to talk about the upcoming movies this week. Only 3 of them, so this will probably go pretty quickly. The most popular one, I would imagine, is going to be The Exorcist Believer. When 2 girls disappear into the woods and return 3 days later with no memory of what happened to them, the father of one girl seeks out Chris McNeil, who's been forever altered by what happened to her daughter 50 years ago. So this is going to have the same people, same actresses at least, from the original Exorcist from the 1970s? Was it 1970, 1980? Around that time. Before we were born.
73.
73. Wow. Okay. So that movie obviously just opened the whole world to a new genre of horror.
Oh, yeah.
So obviously a pivotal movement in the horror genre. But you know what happens when you try to redo that, especially 40, 50 years later.
Yeah, and I mean, I originally had decent hopes for this movie.
Yeah,
a solid horror movie, but it is just like looking like a big wet fart.
Yeah, hey, it's a
especially
good thing
because I've never seen the second or third Exorcist movies, which I didn't even know existed. I just thought it was always like I might have heard of a second or third. I don't know, but is Believer like a 4th one? Does it go off the 3rd one?
Exorcist is supposed to be off of the 1st one. Okay,
so this is like a direct sequel to the 1st one. They're kind of retconning stuff then?
Yeah, that might be what you call it. I guess Linda Blair, I guess both of them, and Louise Fletcher, who are in this one, have been in the first 2, but not the 3rd one.
Okay, apparently the second one is just crap.
Yeah, 3.8.
Yeah, I'm looking at that now. So at least the 3rd's got a 6.5, which is better than Believer currently on IMDb.
Wow. So I feel like, I think the 3rd one, they might talk about what happened in the originals, but they don't, I don't think they connect the same way.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, 17 years after the execution. Yeah, they'll reference it, but they are essentially, it's not really a real sequel.
Yeah, okay.
Where this one is supposed to be, and like you said, just about everything I've seen is like, this did not need to be made.
Yeah. Yep.
It's cool that, they get the same folks and everything. That's interesting. This movie actually won 2 Oscars, the original one.
Oh, yeah. The original one is it was groundbreaking for the time.
See here. What did it win? It was a nominee for Best Picture. What horror movie has ever been nominated for Best Picture?
We might have to take a look into that right now. Let's actually look into that.
That is super interesting.
I found the list of horror movies nominated for Best Picture, and there's only 6. So we know one Should we turn this into a game with Billy?
I think it is.
It would be a little too. I think it would just be a little too vague. I bet you could probably figure them out, but I'll just go ahead and list them off. So, The Exorcist, which was 1973. No, not The Shining, but we do have Jaws, 1975. Silence of the Lambs. Yeah, I think they're being loose with the definition of horror here.
Okay.
But Jaws, The Silence of the Lambs, The Sixth Sense, which makes some sense too. Black Swan, which is that a horror movie? I've never seen it.
Black Swan is very weird. That's Natalie Portman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's like a ballerina who wants to like head a show, and she turns into like a psycho trying to get this lead role. It could be considered horror. It is pretty creepy.
Okay. The last one, pretty recently, I bet you could probably figure it out. I'll let you figure this one out.
The last one.
The most recent nominee for Best Picture that's a horror movie.
Oh boy.
2017.
2017. What have I seen in 2017? Oh man, why was that so long ago? What do we have? It's not. Oh, what the hell was I thinking of? Oh my gosh. What was the? Is it an alien movie?
No, but it's similar. It's got the same director as an alien movie.
Same director as an alien. Oh, no, it's not Prometheus, is it?
No, it is not Prometheus.
I'm getting fucked up here. 2017. See, I was thinking of the one with Amy, Arrival.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, not Arrival.
Not Arrival. Balls.
You give up?
I might, because I'm trying to think like
it's
horror from around.
You're gonna
then.
be like, oh my god,
I'm
whenever
be
I
upset
say
with myself. Okay,
it's Get Out.
That makes sense. Okay, yeah, I do remember that. The other one I was gonna say, I'm like, did The Shape of Water count as horror? It was fucking weird, but I didn't.
Yeah, that would have made sense though. But yeah, actually just threw on Get Out yesterday. I was just kind of watching it in the back as I played on my phone, but
gotcha.
Yeah, it holds up.
Okay.
Yeah, Get Out. So only 6 nominated for Best Picture horror movies, which is kind of not a lot.
Yeah, that is not a lot. I don't know if it's like a stance of the Academy to just like almost exclude horror.
Yeah.
Or if horror has just been like so hit and miss that it's just not there all the time.
I wonder if I'd narrow it down from not just Best Picture, but nominated just for Oscars in general. What we get, that's probably a good bit more.
Yeah, it would probably be. You would think for like effects, maybe, or sound. Some of that would probably be pretty good.
Yeah, there's probably a good bit more, but I don't feel like digging back into that.
Yeah, that's a whole.
That's a whole other freaking rabbit hole. But anyway, The Exorcist Believer apparently sucks.
Yes, that is really what we're trying to say here.
I might still go see it though. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
There's nothing really coming out this week.
This week is see, the problem, Ty, is
now we're a week back from the.
We're a week
movies.
back, and I'm like confused here. But next week is also not a lot. We get Taylor Swift.
Oh right.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
But next week, Killers of the Flower Moon.
Hell yeah, cannot wait for that one.
Yeah, that's going to be fantastic.
We also get Dix the Musical that week, so...
I mean, that's really what matters. What is that? Who am I looking at? Oh, Nathan Lane? I like Nathan Lane. Tom Kenny, get old SpongeBob in there?
I've seen this. I've seen a lot about this, actually. So is this like...
What is this? Nick Offerman?
Yeah, Megan Thee Stallion?
Maybe this won't be terrible.
It might actually be quirky and funny.
Oh my gosh, the director of Borat.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. So this might actually be okay.
Damn.
But that's for another time.
Wow.
Getting ahead of ourselves. But yeah, that has caught my interest now.
Me too.
Yeah. So Exorcist, Believer, most of the same cast, the director, also produced the newest Halloween film. So this dude obviously just can't think of anything on his own. He is just copying things from the past. So that's probably all you need to know about this film. It's Halloween. It's probably good for like a date night movie. There's probably jump scares.
For sure.
That's probably about it.
Yeah. 5.2 out of 10 right now and 39 on Metacritic score. That's pretty bad.
That's pretty rough. Next film here, The Burial, Inspired by true events, a lawyer helps a funeral home owner save his family business from a corporate behemoth, exposing a complex web of race, power, and injustice. So this is coming out on Prime Video. This will be Tommy Lee Jones and Jamie Foxx. And I have a note here. Tommy Lee Jones doesn't age. He was just born old.
Yeah, not at all.
It has not changed at all.
Just like everybody from Pittsburgh knows that Edgar Snyder also doesn't age, Tommy Lee Jones looked the exact same age. I mean, he looked like this in 94 or whatever, 90 whatever, whenever Men in Black came out.
Yeah, he's just always looked the same, and it's 30 years later. But Jamie Foxx here. This looks okay. Interesting true story. And easy to stream at home. So that makes the barrier to entry easier.
Tommy Lee Jones also only 77. I thought he was a lot older than that.
Wow. How old was he in Men in Black?
That's what I was going to say. So in Men in Black, he was probably only like 50 something.
Yeah, he looked older. So 97. When was he born?
He was born in a log cabin. No, he was born
46. So
46.
51.
51 during 51. Men in Black. Okay. I guess he kind of looks 51.
Yeah, on his third wife.
I mean,
what's kind of funny to say here is like he's on his third wife, but he's also older. But all of these marriages lasted pretty long. Like his first marriage lasted 7 years. His second marriage lasted 15, and the current girl he's married to has been since 2001.
Hell yeah, he's just a dog. I love Tommy Lee Jones.
So that's probably worth a watch eventually.
Yeah, if you're into like the drama, courtroom drama, it looks like.
Yeah. But final one here. It's called Foe. Han and Junior farm a secluded piece of land that has been in Junior's family for generations, but their quiet life is thrown into turmoil when an uninvited stranger shows up at their door with a startling proposal. It's interesting. There's not a ton of people in this movie, but the people are in it have pretty good accolades. So Garth David is the director. He also directed Lion, which was, speaking of Oscars, nominated for an Oscar a few years ago.
Okay.
And then I'm going to butcher her name, but Saoirse Ronan?
Saoirse Ronan.
Yeah, thank you.
It's such a bizarre name. I've only ever heard it, so if I ever saw it, there's no way I'd be like, Saoirse.
I don't think I've never heard it. But she is Lady Bird, so she's obviously was nominated for Best Actress. That movie was up for Best Picture. So two pretty high accolade people in this. Have not heard a ton about it until I looked it up. Here, current reviews are not great. It's a 40 out of 100. That. So
that's upsetting because I didn't realize it was like a sci-fi thriller, and it sounds really intriguing. It kind of sounds like something we've at least heard of before, but
right.
I was intrigued with Saoirse Ronan because she usually only really is picky with her roles and does like a lot of the period stuff. So I figured for her to be in something like this, it must be pretty solid. But turns out that's not the case.
You would hope.
I think it's another Amazon one though. Maybe? Or at least Amazon Studios. Oh, it says exclusively in theaters.
Showtimes, yeah.
Wow.
I'm
guessing it'll drop on Amazon eventually. I got nothing.
Got nothing? So, select theaters.
Very select theaters.
I thought that said Aaron Paul, but it says Aaron Pierre. It's like, I didn't see him here. I didn't bring up Aaron Pierre. What has he been? He was in Old, what the hell is his name?
M. Night
movie.
The old beach movie. Ugh.
Is his name Mid-Size Sedan?
What?
That's his character's name. It's just Mid-Size Sedan, or does he just play a car? So
I have no idea.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. That's a weird one.
That is so weird.
But that's really it for movies here. I got to get better at IMDb's not good at telling you what things come out on streaming services.
I know.
Like,
I mean, I think we both realized lately that IMDb's kind of sucking shit lately.
Their release counter doesn't make sense. Like, why is it different on the app versus the website?
Right. The website's a lot better than the app, I will say. The app is just shit now. They need to do something with it.
Yeah. So we got to find a new new place to get our information here.
Yeah, I know there is one. It's like it's not IMDb. It's like IMBD or something. It's something ridiculous. It's something super similar.
But that's it for me here, Ty. Let's get into the news.
Okay, there's not a ton this week, but we got some stuff here. So, first off, we got some Netflix price increases again.
Nick.
So it increased its prices across the board over a year ago, but it also effectively increased its prices by discontinuing the basic tier a couple months ago. So I guess there was a basic tier, which was like they would run ads and it was dirt cheap, and they just completely got rid of that now too. I don't even know how much. I just know that I have it. I don't even know how much I'm paying for it at this point. But the Wall Street Journal is reporting that Netflix is planning to increase its prices once the ongoing Hollywood actors strike comes to an end. No word on how much it'll increase, but at this point, it's starting to add up having all these goddamn streaming services.
Yeah, it's basically cable now.
Yeah, exactly. You pretty much have 3 or 4 streaming services. You're pretty much just bundling like you are with cable and all that stuff. So
yeah,
that's eventually what it's going to be. Yeah, and it'll happen again. Everybody will be like, oh, you bundle these and whatever. Same thing. Yeah. So should we do it? Should we talk about Taylor Swift?
Always. I talk about her every day.
Okay.
Apparently everyone else jumped on with it with the Travis Kelce shit, but I've been talking about her every day for years.
I hard Swiftie. I'm not much of a Swiftie. I do dabble. I dabble, but it was funny though. Tay did have to call me the one night, and I was just about to go to bed, and she's like, "Is Travis Kelce good at football?" And I was just like, "Yes," and I just like hung up. I was like, "Yes."
You knew what was coming. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I will. So what I will say, I gotta make my mark here, Ty. So I will say, before she even knew who Travis Kelce was, she kissed me on the cheek during
really?
the concert. So yeah, and I was at her concert at Mellon Arena.
Oh my gosh.
With our good friends the Krugs and my cousins.
Wow.
Yes, Madison, I believe, also got a hug as well. But yes, so we were on the floor, but we were in the back of the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a part of the show where she like disappears, but she pops up. There's a second stage, and so everyone hauled ass to get around to that stage, and it was like a little like semicircle. And so she got up there, played acoustic shit, but when she was done, she got down and came and like hugged and kissed everyone like on the fence, and I was on the fence.
Wow.
So suck it, Travis.
I'm gonna clickbait whenever I tweet out this episode everything that you have been kissed by Taylor Swift.
That's right.
Connected to Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna lay it all out there. But
I also won the Paint the World Red contest when her album Red came out on my birthday. That album was for me.
Wow. This is great.
Oh, there we go. I'm just stating my spot here.
So like we just talked about, her Eras Tour movie's coming out soon. She's dating Travis Kelce. She's been everywhere. But now fans are convinced that she's going to be in Deadpool 3.
Really?
Yeah. So ever since she was spotted with Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, and the director of Deadpool 3, Sean Levy, at that football game that night, people are convinced she'll make a cameo as Dazzler. And people who play Marvel Snap, like you and I, know who Dazzler is. They're convinced she's going to play her, who's a mutant pop star in the newest Deadpool movie. Apparently, this goes back even farther than just that, though, because after being seen with all of them, this is months ago at this point, Ryan Reynolds first released a teaser for the movie. It was filmed in the exact same house that she filmed a short film in. And since then, Ryan Reynolds has had to come out and deny that she'd be in it, but he did say that he would do anything for her because she's a genius. And then also since then, director Sean Levy has said that some of the internet castings are true, but some aren't.
Interesting.
So Deadpool 3 is still on pause until the SAG strike ends, but it's one of the first movies to continue as soon as that agreement's reached. But at this point, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
and she is really good friends with Blake and Ryan. Their daughter, I think, is in the intro of her song Gorgeous.
Okay.
It's like a little child just saying gorgeous. It's their kid.
Wow.
So they are good buddies.
See, I think it's going to happen then.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
That'd be really funny. I'm going to keep the streak going of holiday horror movies too.
Oh,
I think it's been several pods in a week here, but first we had Thanksgiving and then the Easter, and now there's going to be a Christmas horror movie coming out next month.
Yeah.
It's called It's a Wonderful Knife, and it's coming out on November 10th.
Beautiful.
Next month. Already November next month, which is fucking crazy. But this film follows the story of Winnie, a young woman in a Christmas-obsessed town who blames herself for her best friend's death and wishes she had never existed. So this movie is a classic twist, or a twist on the classic Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life, mixed with Scream. So Winnie uncovers many deaths she prevented and must solve a mystery before it's too late. I mean, that just sounds not great, but, you know, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see, but it's kind of an interesting premise, mixing It's a Wonderful Life in a horror movie.
Yeah. Horror, Christmas
you can just
movies,
mix it with anything.
I think that's where it started, in terms of holiday horror. I think
so,
Christmas was where it started.
I remember there's old ones like, it had like Goldberg the wrestler in it, and he was like a killer Santa Claus.
Oh my gosh.
And then, of course, like Krampus and all that.
Mm-hmm. Jack Frost.
Yeah. And then I just have a couple other little quick things here. So, next month, November 1st, Terrifier 2 is re-releasing in theaters, but apparently they're going to show a first look at Terrifier 3, and it's going to be over 2 minutes long. So that's pretty cool. I mean, it's probably worth going to see Terrifier 2 back in the theater again anyway, 'cause it's a really good movie, actually, if you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah, you gotta be prepared to go to those.
But after the success of the second one, this third one is just going to be, like, the hype is going to be through the roof for it. So I'm excited to see that. I don't know if I'm going to make it back to the theater to see that, though, but I'm sure it'll pop up online shortly thereafter that. Next year, Ridley Scott has a director's cut of Napoleon that was going to be over 4 hours long and eventually able to stream. For reference, the theatrical cut is only 2.5 hours long. So he's got another hour and a half of movie. I'm all in for a long movie, but 4 hours might be my breaking point. I just don't know how that could possibly keep my attention. And then the last thing here, we're getting a Michael Jackson biopic.
Did we have one?
I don't know.
No, I'm thinking of his like live movie thing. That was while you're still alive. Holy shit. Okay. Never mind.
So it's just going to be called Michael, which okay.
Sure.
It's going to star his nephew, Jafar Jackson. I don't know if he's ever been in anything before, but it promises to give audiences a never-before-told and in-depth portrayal of the complicated man who became the king of pop and also a pedophile. So production's going to kick off on that after the SAG strike ends as well. So, yeah, I mean, how are they going to work in the whole, like, pedophile thing into the movie? I guess we'll have to wait and see.
They'll tell his side.
Yeah. I just can't wait to see the part where he brings in the Ferris wheel to Neverland Ranch, starts hanging out with Macaulay Culkin.
Dangles his child outside a window.
It's just going to be the South Park, but all just coming to life.
Yeah, that's absolutely what it should be.
But that's the end of the news. There's not a ton there. Just a couple little things.
Cool. Sweet. Let's get into the Wes Anderson shorts. I think let's kick it off with the big one.
Oh, yeah.
The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar is the longest of the four.
Mm-hmm.
It is 38 minutes, while the others are, I think they're all exactly 17.
17, yep.
But these are all 4 short stories from the author Ronald Dahl.
Yeah, yep.
The that's how you say
Willy
his name?
Wonka.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Yeah, he did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, James and the Giant Peach, all that.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So apparently there were more things left untold from his stories that he wrote. So Wes Anderson said, fuck it, I'll do it. What I think is neat about these 4 films is that while they're not related at all, they are all contained in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They contain the same actors.
Yeah, yep.
So that's pretty neat. But I think we both agree The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar is the best one.
Oh, yeah, phenomenal. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, as Ty just said, it was really good, highly surprising. It is exactly kind of what you think when you think Wes Anderson, just a cinematography masterclass, which is really what it is. It feels like you're watching a play, like most of his films, but this one really feels like people aren't really moving, but the area around them is. So we'll just give a brief. This is a convince me to see, but the me is the audience because we already saw it. So we want to convince you to see this film. I don't want to give too much away, but essentially the story is there's this man, super wealthy, but also pretty bored with life, I think you could say.
Yeah.
He finds a story about a man who was able to see without using his eyes. And he essentially wanted to learn a similar practice. So that's what he does. And you're probably like, Dylan, that sounds weird as shit. It is.
Yeah.
But it is highly enjoyable.
Yeah. You can tell Wes Anderson's super... he's just like super passionate about all these short stories. Must have had an impact on him, either reading them growing up or whatever, but he was definitely the guy to direct these, I think. Henry Sugar, though, it blew me away. Not a second of it is wasted, I think, in this 39-minute runtime. It was well deserving of being the longest one of the short stories, I thought. I thought it had the best performances of all of them. Such a great set and cinematography, too, like you said. The way they pulled off some of the set pieces, too, are just so clever. And there's some just really actually funny parts, laugh out loud funny parts in this movie that I don't want to spoil, but because it's only 39 minutes long, I don't want to give too much away. But I definitely think this one is definitely worth a watch. I think they're all worth a watch. They're only 17 minutes long, and this one's 39, but this one definitely absolutely worth a watch. And I think it could probably be nominated for an Oscar for Best Short Film, in my opinion, because I absolutely loved it. Yeah,
I don't know how it won't. It was very good. It was. They're all worth a watch. Is what I will say here. Probably just because of their short runtime. That makes it so easy to watch them. And I'm glad I started with The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar.
Me too.
Because I think it's possible if you pick the wrong one, you might be like, okay, that was weird. I'm not into that. I don't really want to watch the rest. And then you'd be missing out.
So that begs the question, what order did you watch them in? So I watched Henry Sugar, and then I watched The Ratcatcher, and then I watched The Swan, and then I watched Poison.
Okay, so I did Henry Sugar, then Poison, The Ratcatcher, and then I have not seen The Swan.
Okay. So now that makes me wonder which one... I'll give you my rankings right now, so I'll just go 1 through 4. First, I like The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. That's a 10 out of 10. That's my second 10 out of 10 on the whole year.
Nice.
Loved it. Next, my 2 out of the 4, Poison. I loved this one too. This one was really good. 3 is The Swan, and 4 is The Ratcatcher.
Okay. I may end up in a similar order, even though I have not watched one yet. But Henry Sugar, absolutely top of the list. Man, I think Poison is probably number 2 for me as well. Although I will say I felt like going from Henry Sugar to Poison, I did feel that drop.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad I spaced them out. I didn't watch them in the same day.
Yeah, I did not either. I watched Poison and The Ratcatcher on the same day. But yeah, there was definitely a drop between Henry Sugar and Poison. Not saying it's bad at all.
Right.
Very different. It's suspenseful, but not in like a scary way. Right.
It was hilarious, I thought.
Yeah, the what's his name? Benedict Cumberbatch is just a dick to the people trying to help him out.
It was so funny. I also think Dev Patel is the best of the narrators for these stories too. I think he was like the most charismatic.
Yeah. Dude is extremely talented. You get old Voldemort in there as well. He plays a few different people, but he plays Ronald Dahl.
Yep.
And he plays the Ratcatcher.
He looks exactly like a guy that would be a Ratcatcher as well.
So you know who I thought he looked like was his counterpart in the Harry Potter movies, Wormtail.
Yeah, he did. He did look like that in the Ratcatcher. That's a really good idea. That's a really good point.
Inspired his character because
it very well could have. The long hair.
Yeah, the dude who played Wormtail, he's like a fucking rat anyway. So
yeah,
that was really what it reminded me of.
Damn, I can't remember what I was just gonna say. Shit. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. So Rupert Friend, who's also in all these, he's like the main guy in the Swan. I just thought he was Orlando Bloom.
I did too.
Apparently that's a really big thing because I googled Rupert Friend and like one of the top results is Rupert Friend Orlando Bloom. They are identical. Yeah.
When I was originally just watching, the little trailer Netflix gives you, which it's funny that there would be a trailer for a short film because it's that'd be like a third of the movie. But there was a trailer for it for the Ratcatcher, and I thought I'm like, is that Orlando Bloom? And just continued to think it was until I actually watched it. I'm like, no, that's not. And then I had to think, I'm like, is he British? Is he English? I like could not piece it together.
Yeah.
But with that, let's get some more ratings in here. So I did like The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. I ended up, I went with a 9 on that one.
Okay. I went 10. I went 10 on Henry Sugar.
Yeah, very fair, very fair.
So next was Poison. Did we even see what it was about? So this one's.
Oh, sure.
This one's a poisonous snake slithers onto an Englishman's stomach in India, and his associate and the doctor race to save him. It just all takes place in one room. He's just laying there in a bed. So funny. I thought it was hilarious. I ended up going high 8 on Poison.
Gotcha. I was at a 7 for Poison.
Okay.
And then let's just do the one we both saw, the Ratcatcher.
Okay, so yeah, Ratcatcher. Just a quick synopsis for it too, in case nobody heard yet. In an English village, a reporter and a mechanic listen to a Ratcatcher explain his clever plan to outwit his prey. I thought this one was going to be. I watched this one right after Henry Sugar, not same day, but this was the one I watched next, and it had a significant drop, obviously. But I thought there was going to be some fun like rat catching shenanigans, like Mouse Hunt. I know we've brought that movie up before. That didn't end up happening, but this one I ended up with like a 6 on.
I was exactly the same as 6.
Yeah,
like it's not bad. It is a definite downgrade from some of the other ones, but the you get that weird animation that we got in Asteroid City for like the rat. And like, not that that's a horrible thing. That's not what brought it down. It was just the story itself wasn't completely there.
Yeah. The storytelling though from the narrator was what made it still so good. Even though we're watching it on screen, the storytelling from the narrator was what makes it really good. That's what makes all these stand out so well. So it's such great narration.
And this one, who narrated that one? It's the guy from the IT Crowd.
Yeah. I don't even know his name. I know he's in that movie The Watch too.
Richard Ayoade.
Yeah.
But yeah, because what's interesting with this one, it is the actors never really leave.
It's pretty much like 2 spots, kind of like a gas station almost.
And days go by.
Yeah.
But they don't move. It's all the narrator. Like the Ratcatcher's there doing his thing, setting the traps, and the narrator's like, the next day comes and like nothing has changed. There's no night to day shift. He's just standing there doing the same thing he was doing the previous day. But it's all based on the narrator, which is such a Wes Anderson style that you either like or you don't.
One thing I did like about this one too is that even though they didn't have like props for certain things like poison, like the rat and like a ferret, it didn't matter because the narration was so good. It was kind of funny. Yeah. He'd be pretending to hold something, and they would just keep telling the story, and you're like, oh, okay. At first, I was like, what the hell? And then I was like, you know what? I don't hate that.
I thought maybe that was like the joke. It's like that there's nothing there. But then you're like, oh, okay. That's just, it's like a play. In a play, you likely wouldn't have a prop. They would just be explained. Yeah, it was still good, but not as good as, well, really Henry Sugar and Poison.
Yeah. Okay, so that just leads us to the Swan. So I'll just go ahead and convince you to watch it because I think it's better. I think it's a 7. Okay. So middle of the road, like a little above the middle of the road. But like I said, I thought I thought Uber Friend was just Orlando Bloom. I was a fan of a lot of this one because it takes place. It travels around. It does a lot more moving around than the Ratcatcher. A lot of it takes place on a train track, and there is a really good chunk there. Whenever a guy's just laying down on some train tracks, and you get some good shots there. This one, though, did I tell you what it's about? So it's about a small, brilliant boy is tormented by two large, idiotic bullies.
Okay.
So this one's definitely more dramatic than I would say all three of the other ones. It's damn near sad. It's pretty sad, actually. But yeah, it kind of reminded me of Stand By Me almost a little bit.
Okay.
Some really good shots in this one. And I mean, I can't go really. There's not really too much to go into. It's only 17 minutes long, but I definitely think it's worth a watch. I think it's better than the Ratcatcher. Like I said, I think it's probably the most dramatic of all of them. And yeah, 7 on that one.
Okay. You really piqued my interest when you said Stand By Me. That is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, it is one of the best of all time.
It'll the other oh no, why can't I think? Joker, Napoleon. Walk the line.
Phoenix?
Joaquin Phoenix, his brother.
Yeah, River.
Old River Phoenix, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
all in all, just a great crop of short films from Wes Anderson. He might be the short film king.
And I think I texted you, I'm like, maybe all of his films should be like this.
Yeah, honestly.
But Ty, with these new rankings, and maybe, when we do our awards and everything, we got to break this out a bit further. But with these rankings, the Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar is now tied for first place in our rankings with Oppenheimer.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, still, even though I think it's a 10 out of 10, I still think Oppenheimer is probably like leagues above it just because it's like a 3-hour-long masterpiece and Henry Sugar is only 40 minutes. But still a 10 out of 10 in my book.
Yeah, for what it is.
Yeah.
It's good. And yeah, so maybe we do got to like break it up somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Asterisk. I think there's probably got to be an asterisk.
Yeah. Like, is it fair to compare a 38-minute film to a 3-hour long one,
Yeah.
So, but either way, still super interesting.
High praise from us. And I definitely did recommend it to some people over the weekend, and I will say that they watched it and they're like, what the fuck is this? So it might not be for everybody, but I think it's great. Dylan thinks it's great. Give it a watch. Give it a go.
Yeah, I really think if you enjoy, well, obviously if you like Wes Anderson in general.
Yeah, if you like Wes Anderson, you probably already watched all these.
But if you like theater in general, like you'll probably like this. Like the stage changes, like I don't think we gave enough props to those people who set up the stage and how the scenes change without actually doing a scene change.
No,
like those people deserve all the respect in the world for that.
Yeah, that was almost just as entertaining as what we were like watching and listening to on the screen. Like some of the shots in Henry Sugar, like whenever they make it look like he's levitating, he's just sitting on a painted block. I mean, that's so clever.
All right, I gotta give some of these people recognition. So I have looked in here. Cinematography is by Robert D. Yeoman, Yeoman. Let's see, has he done anything? Oh, he's done a lot of Wes Anderson's cinematography.
I was going to say, he probably just had all of his guys.
Yeah, Asteroid City. So he did all of those. Art direction is probably the other place. Richard Hardy, Claire Peerless, Kevin Timon Hill. Those were all the art directors. Let's see. Art department. Oh, I'm so sorry, people. There's so many people in the art department. I am not going to list off all of them. Forever. But just know, like, a ton of our respect for what you guys do.
Yeah, shout out to all of them because that was some of the best cinematography I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, a little more gruesome of a transition here.
Complete 180.
So let's jump into Saw X, Saw 10, whatever we want to call it. It's finally out. We have both seen it. I just saw it last night. Finally got to make my way to the theaters. I got to figure out what the hell this thing is on the poster, which we'll get into. We're going to talk about that in the spoilers, but we'll break it up here, spoiler free and with spoilers. But just quick synopsis. I think we've given this like 3 weeks in a row, but
probably, yeah.
If you don't know what Saw is at this point, get with it.
Yeah.
But this movie will take place between Saw 1 and 2. If you know the story of Jigsaw already, he is sick with brain cancer. So he is desperate, looking for a cure. He only has months to live at this point. So he finds that there is some quote unquote miracle cure. Jesus, I could not say that. In Mexico. So he makes his way down there to get the treatment, only to discover it was just a scam. So obviously, you scam Jigsaw, you're gonna have a fucking bad time.
Yeah, real bad.
So I'm just gonna talk a little bit about the people involved here. Obviously, Tobin Bell is the main dude here. Shawnee Smith, Amanda reprising her role, but they're not the only ones. Kevin, what? These just look like letters all mixed up, but Grutert is what I'm gonna go with. He has been involved with all of the Saw movies. Mm-hmm. He directed Saw 6 and 7, and then he was the editor for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and Jigsaw. But he was also the editor for The Strangers in the Collection. So he's been involved in a lot of great horror films.
Yeah, he's had his hand in a lot of good horror films.
So I want to give most of the props to him. And this will make more sense once I give my list of the order I put the Saw films in. But Pete Goldfinger and Josh Stolberg are the writers. They also wrote Spiral, which was okay. Also the lowest at the box office, as we talked about. Jigsaw. But these dudes also did Piranha 3D and 3DD. 3 Double D, whatever the hell they wanted to call it, because people only watch that movie for the boobs anyways.
I can't believe that movie even was made. That's hilarious.
Yeah, so that's where those guys come from, and that is why I'm giving a lot of the credit to Kevin here for making a good film. But that's really where I'm going to hand it here. That it was a good film. It was. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. You hyped me up for it. My brother hyped me up for it. I was already hyped up for it. Saw holds a weird place with me. Like I said, it was always special. I would see from 3 onwards, every single one of them in theaters for my birthday. I had a birthday party where we watched, I think only Saw 1 through 5 were out at the time. So we watched all of them and then watched the Human Centipede 2, which was a mess for us. I don't know how old we were, maybe 15, 14. But so Saw has always been held a special place for me. I know they're not the best movies. I absolutely know that. So obviously take my ratings with a grain of salt. But they're enjoyable. They're different. It is the most profitable horror film series ever.
That's crazy.
So it's doing something right. And that's something that is right. It's just a gruesome way to think about things. A lot of blood. But that's not even the most important part. They have fantastic twists in just about every film. I'm giving a lot of praise here. But the Saw X was a good film. I ended up at an 8 out of 10, Ty.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at too. Like high 7 for me, just about an 8. I mean, I think the thing here is that regardless of this being the 10th installment of the franchise, which is crazy, it might be damn near the best one. And for being the 10th in a franchise, that is crazy. So even if it wasn't a Saw movie, it'd be a really good horror movie. But takes everything people do love about these Saw movies and it just dials it in. Doesn't make it convoluted. Doesn't make it harder than it needs to be. It's just gruesome as hell. It's damn near sickening in a couple spots. I damn near was like, oh my god, I could throw up. And it's everything you'd want from a horror movie, especially for being the 10th in a franchise, like I said, which is rare. Yes. And it's not even like it's a scare horror movie. It's more just gruesome as hell, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like what you're watching is going to scare you. It's not, they're not going for jump scares here, nothing like that. They're going for like intense, gruesome body horror.
Yeah. And that's what, for the most part, that's what these films have always been. Right? It's just gore. You know you're going in, you're going to see gore. And what I will say about this one, I think a lot of the articles and everything I would see on it is that this is the goriest and the bloodiest. That's not true at all. Mm-hmm. I went and watched every single Saw film before this one in the week leading up to it. It's not even close. It might not even be top 5.
Wow.
In terms of gore. There are a lot worse ones. So I don't know, the folks who were saying that and reading that article, I don't know what they've seen. Maybe they've only been watching like the edited for TV ones. Yeah. But no, there are way worse films in terms of gore. But I'll do my list. I'll do my list now. So I'll start from the bottom. I'll start from the bottom here, if I can pull up my damn notes. So the worst one, that is also probably the one with the most gore, is Saw 3D. That is the worst.
Okay.
And that's why, I kind of, no, I was wrong there. That's what I was going to say. I was surprised that Kevin directed Saw 7 because it was the worst one.
Okay.
So I for him to go from that to this is pretty impressive, I think. Then at number, so I should also say I'm excluding Spiral.
Okay.
So at number 8 is Saw 4. Saw 4 almost made it to the bottom for me. Saw 4 takes place at the exact same time as Saw 3, which is a really cool concept. However, Saw 4 was pretty damn boring. It's mostly just following around the SWAT. I think he's a SWAT guy. SWAT guy around trying to find the detective that went missing in Saw 2.
Okay.
And it's pretty boring. The traps aren't as cool. The story is lame. You get a cool twist, but it's not one of the best twists. Mm-hmm. So that's why 4 is there. Saw 5. I really liked Saw 5 when I first saw it. I thought it was a really, really neat concept. The concept being, and I'm going to spoil all of these because they've been out forever.
For sure.
But the concept being that this game involved multiple people. And it was one of the first games that everyone had to work together.
Yeah.
And what they find is by the end, the last trap they have to do, there is like a glass table with a beaker and a like fishing bobber in it. And they all have to give blood to fill this beaker up to a certain point. However, there were only 2 of them left. They all fucking died. So they had to give way more blood at the end than they would have if everyone would have made it to the end.
Jeez.
So the whole thing was everyone being selfish. They found that they thought about, they're like, everyone could have survived every single part of this trap, every single part of this game.
Oh my god.
And that was a really cool reveal. But the side story, and that's another little piece of trivia here, this is only the second film to not feature a cop side story.
Yeah, okay.
And when I say this film, Saw X is the
that's what I figured.
Yeah, sorry, I Saw 5 did. Okay. And that side of things was super fucking boring.
Yeah, that's why that's one of the very good pros about Saw X, is that it kept it straightforward, didn't have too convoluted of a plot or anything like that.
And the other thing that's neat about this is, I just watched all these films leading up to it. I don't think I needed to.
Right.
I think definitely. This film, if you've never seen a Saw film, I think you could see this and be pretty much okay. Obviously, you want to have seen the other ones to get little things here and there, know who some people are. Like Sophie didn't know who Amanda was.
Yeah, I knew who she was. I've only seen a couple of the Saw films, though. I don't even know which ones exactly I've seen. I know I saw the first, saw Spiral. I can't remember which other ones I've seen. So I'm not as big of a Saw guy as you are, but I mean, now I am. Yeah, back in the day, they weren't my jam back in the day. But so for a guy like me that's not really a big fan, it didn't really matter because this is still early in the franchise technically.
And that's what's really cool about it, because it can be isolated, it can be on its own. Yeah, okay, you don't know who Amanda is. That's not a terrible thing to know, or to not know. It doesn't affect the movie. And then Brett, my brother, said, talked to him about the movie. He's like, yeah, man, I hope Amanda carries out his thing since he's dead. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, she'll continue on. I'm like, she's dead. And he's like, what? I'm like, she died in the third movie.
Damn.
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so she died in the third movie.
Wow.
After being involved, obviously the first one, she was one of his first victims, I guess you can call it. But yeah, she died pretty damn early.
No shit. See, there you go. More you know.
At number 6 is Saw 6. I also enjoyed this one a good bit. I thought the traps were neat. But this one connects with Saw 10, Saw X. Reason being, Jigsaw, well, even though he's dead, he set up the game, is punishing his insurance guy. Really, the whole branch. So there is a scene in Saw 6 where he's getting denied coverage for an experimental treatment. That experimental treatment was this movie.
Oh, wow.
So pretty cool. That's a pretty good link.
Yeah, definitely.
And it makes sense because it's the same director.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to them for like keeping that straight. There's so many movies. It's so easy to probably get them all mixed up.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But they did a fantastic job kind of keeping everything straight.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I'm like iffy about is like the timeline on all this, because I think, from Saw 1 to 3 or something, I think it's only a span of like a few weeks. So for him to go to Mexico, do all this and come back, I'm like, okay, how'd you do that? That's kind of pretty quick, but whatever. I'm pushing that to the side. At number 5, I'm sorry, did I say 5? No, I said 6. At number 5 is Saw 2. So this is the one that takes place directly after Saw X. This one has one of the best twists in all of them. And that is why it is so high here for me. In terms of twists, this is actually probably top 3.
Oh, wow.
But as a full movie, it gets a little tiresome. There's some spots that are just like, man, nothing's going on. But at the same time, that's also part of the twist that nothing's going on. So really like Saw 2. Number 4 is Jigsaw. So this is technically the 8th film.
Yeah, one of the most recent ones, right? It came right before Spiral?
Came before Spiral and after 3D. And what I really like about this one is it takes place... This also has a fantastic twist. It takes place in 2 time frames. This is the first actual game that Jigsaw ran. But the cop subplot is 10 years or something after Jigsaw already died.
Oh, no shit.
And they're like, how is he still around? What's going on? And that's not what happened. This game happened years ago, but the bodies are turning up now because another guy who worked with Jigsaw, he has a lot of friends apparently, is carrying out his will. And that, I spoiled the twist, but that is, it's old at this point, but that is, again, another fantastic twist. The traps are really cool. And it's actually another one where the people actually have to work with each other instead of against each other, which I enjoyed.
Hell yeah.
And I still have not said Saw X, so that is cracking into my top 3.
Damn.
At number 3 is Saw 3.
Okay.
For the longest time, I thought Saw 3 was my favorite. It has the best twist. Zero doubt in my mind. Best twist in all of the films, including Saw X. Just really cool. You get disconnected things going on. You're paying attention to this guy going through all these traps about trying to forgive the people who didn't get justice for his kid who got murdered by a driver who ran him over. Guy goes through a trap with all that, trying to, he's trying to teach him to forgive. The traps are fucking gruesome. Like the most gruesome one I think is when they get to the actual driver who killed his son. He's in this like crucifix type thing, and it just twists his limbs until the bones start fucking popping out. And like, that's what I'm saying when there's some way gorier things going on than what happened in bed. It was just brutal as all hell. I won't spoil this twist here because if you haven't seen it, you should. But that brings me to number 2, which is Saw X.
Nice.
It is definitely well deserving of top 3. Not so much because of the traps. The traps are probably lower tier. But at the same time, dude just rigged this up on a whim. He was not planning this game from the beginning.
No.
You know, he was planning on being treated for cancer.
Yep.
So that is where this spots in here. The trap tier, pretty low. The what they did come up with was pretty damn good. But the story itself is where it is in that like top tier storytelling.
Yeah, definitely.
The twist, I think, is good if you haven't seen any other Saw film. Reason being, you know, going into this, the amount of times I've seen the Saw films, I know there's going to be a twist. You also know who's going to be alive and who isn't if you've seen the other movies, right? You know he's going to be fine. You know Amanda's going to be fine if you've seen the other film. So that took a little bit of the worry out. But with that said, all in all, I think the writing might be the best other than maybe the first one, which does bring me to number 1, which is the original Saw. The acting is not the best. That is 100% true. This was a low budget film that broke James Wan into the horror scene.
Yep.
He made the Billy puppet from scratch on his own. It was not something they bought. So that is fucking cool. Just how much effort he put into this film. The other cool thing that I've read in the past, I wasn't able to find this again, but they planned out, I think, like the first 4 movies before the first one was ever shot.
Wow.
So just knowing what needs to happen, I think that helps so much when you're actually writing the details to keep everything connected. I think that is such a smart way of doing it. But the original Saw, like I said, kicked off a brand new, not genre, because, you know, of course, gore and shit has been done forever. But it was just so unique in the sense of this dude's bad, but you're also like, shit, I kind of see what he's going for, right?
Yeah,
like he's not punishing good people.
No.
So that is where I land there with the series. I highly recommend everyone to watch them if you can stomach it. But with that said, you know, I think we can jump back into Saw X in detail.
Let's hop into it.
Ty,
I'll go
ahead, please.
I'm not a huge Saw guy, so
sure. And I need to breathe.
Spoiler alert, everybody. Yeah, spoiler alert, everybody. So I did think that this one, they do a good job of making you feel for John Kramer, even though he's fucking psycho killer. I didn't expect the twist, but that's just because they got me. It makes a lot of sense, you know, in retrospect, but since he wasn't dead and since he is dead, it made sense that it wasn't gonna work. But it made me think about, do you think that they regret killing off John? In what movie did he end up being gone? Like, for good?
He died in the third one.
Do you think they regret killing him off so early, since he's pretty much still either in a flashback or in all the other movies, pretty much? Do you think they regret killing him off so early?
I don't think it's regret, because he's in every film except Spiral.
Okay.
So Tobin Bell is in
there.
Every film except Spiral. It's usually a flashback or his voice. He's in Spiral as just like a picture. They're like, Jigsaw died forever ago. Here's a picture of him, basically. So I don't know if it's regret, because I think after he dies and shit keeps happening, in like Jigsaw, they try to be like, oh, it might be, how the fuck's he back? He's alive still. It's like, no, he's not. And they never do that. It's never anything paranormal. But I think it's more that like his message was strong enough to inspire people to carry on his will, which is
for sure
horrifying, right? To think about people are inspired enough to do horrible shit like this to punish people. I'm not, and that's where like that fine line of ethics comes in. It's like, okay, he's punishing these terrible people for bad things he's done. He's never technically killed anyone, which is a big theme in Saw X. He's like, these people have a choice if they want to live or die. Yeah. Which, you know, in the court of law, you're probably wrong. But in the court of human opinion, the whole thing throughout the series is this wrong?
Yeah. And that makes me, that leads to this point. I think all these people in this one, you have a easy time rooting against them. They're just all pieces of shit. So that wasn't bad. I will say the most... Go ahead.
I was going to say the main woman, the main bad woman, she is the most sinister person in all of the films, I think.
Oh, yeah.
She is horrible.
Crazy. I thought the most gruesome trap was one of the first ones, the leg trap, when they have to cut her leg off, and then she has to suck her own bone marrow out. That was so... fucking gross. It just looked like bone marrow. Looked like yogurt coming out of her leg. I like gagged. I gagged.
So they said you gotta suck the bone marrow out. I'm like, I know you can like donate bone marrow and shit, and I never knew how it was done, and I always knew it was like extremely painful for the people that do it. And like when they started sucking that out, it was just blood. I'm like, is that all it is? And then you see, like you said, the yogurt coming out. I'm like, oh, God.
It was so disgusting. I about vomited. And then the one that's on the poster, I thought those were like fluorescent light tubes. Nope. Same. Vacuum. Straight up vacuum cleaner. It's going to suck your eyeballs right out of your skull. Which wasn't even a real trap. It was just in like a little like mind, like a daydream almost.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to play a lot bigger role.
I did too. It's on the damn cover.
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to be a bigger thing, especially because it almost looks like the main evil woman as well, even though it's a dude. But it looks like a woman. But that was a pretty sick trap. That was the most unique trap, probably.
Yeah. Whenever the guy was digging into his own brain, that was, oh my God, that was also a rough one. I did think that they did a good job portraying it, how John's always a step ahead of everybody, which it did make me think, though, if he's so smart, he's always a few steps ahead of everybody else, then how did he just fall for the health scam to begin with?
Right.
But then it was just, at that point, whenever you're that sick, you're just willing to try anything. So, I mean, I get that.
Exactly. You know,
but I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know how they had the black guy in on it from his meeting or whatever. I did think that at first he was just faking it since he kind of saw him out and about, but then he showed him the scar and everything. He's like, oh, wow. And then, so I don't know how he ended up being in on it. I do know he's in the first movie, right? Or second movie?
That guy? No. That's a brand new guy.
Okay, because I saw the post-credit scene, so I wasn't sure if he was in one of the other movies or not.
No, yeah. So I was, during that time, I'm like, is he going to get the black dude that tricked him? And they didn't. I was like, oh, that sucks. And then, the lights weren't coming up during the credits. I'm like, okay, something else has to happen.
Yeah.
And then it came up. It's him. I really wish that would have played out. That was upsetting to me.
I don't know how he ended up being in on it and then get that. That was kind of like, okay.
He was the plant. He was selling it.
Okay, I got it.
He goes to these cancer meetings. It's like, I'm going to die. I'm not going to make it. And then he'll like essentially keep track of the people from the meetings and just like show up and, not really like, he looks way healthier. Right. And so he's like, you look great. And he's like, yeah, dude, it's crazy. And then, they lure him in.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It was so funny because I originally, whenever I first saw this, I wrote down, oh, I wonder if this is going to do better than Exorcist Believer next week. I mean, I kind of figured it was going to, but I'm pretty sure it probably just has blown it away. I don't think there's any chance of Exorcist Believer even catching out to it.
That'll be interesting to think of. I would imagine it does. I don't think many people care about Exorcist. I could be wrong.
Right. Especially after the reviews came out. I thought maybe since this being the 10th in the franchise, that it was. Turns out this one was so good that it didn't even matter. and
Exorcist Believer top for October 6th through 8th weekend.
Oh wow.
Yep.
I was gonna check the box office mojo to see which one made the most money so far.
Right. But also the week before, Saw got beat by Paw Patrol, the mighty movie.
Oh my gosh.
So, but it's everyone taking their kids, so.
So Saw has made about 10 mil more, so.
Okay.
Worldwide, Saw is at 55 mil, and Exorcist Believer is at 44 mil, so.
Good.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
It's the better movie by far.
I was surprised. It was the second weekend yesterday when I saw Saw. Full theater, packed.
Well, I always go at those weird times, so I think it was just Frank and I. We saw it at 4 o'clock on a Tuesday. Awesome. And I think it might have just been Frank and I. Yeah, it was. It was really funny.
That's pretty cool.
It was just Frank and I sitting side by side at an empty theater.
That's awesome.
My only really cons I had were just that it kind of takes a little bit, it takes a little bit in the beginning to get going.
I agree. That was a very long process, and this is also the longest movie of the series.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, it ended up being close to 2 hours, which is a little bit long for just a horror movie. But other than that, solid horror movie all around. Like I said, high 7, about an 8 or so for me.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. What held me back was also, I think it takes a while to get going at the beginning. Mm-hmm. I wanted more traps. I'm really into those for the films. I think the traps are just
for sure, definitely wanted more traps.
Crazy, but at the same time, I understand that this was just on the spot that he came up with his shit, which is incredible. But
yeah, for sure,
that's also his story. He's like a insanely intelligent civil engineer. Like, he's been on covers of magazines and shit.
Yeah,
because he's just really good at what he does. Obviously. Mm-hmm. What was the other thing I was gonna say? Dude, the Mexicans are hardcore as hell. Like, compared to the Americans that go into these traps in the other films, they just like freak out until the time's up and they die.
Yeah.
These folks just went into it. Like, the dude with the pipe bomb strapped on his arms, he's like, he tried to escape at first and he's like, fuck it. And just Edward Scissorhand his way out of the pipe bombs.
I forgot about pipe bomb arms.
Fucking respect. Like, you just went for it. And that doesn't happen in all the films, and it pissed me off.
He said that guy lived, right? He's like, you're going to live. So I thought he was going to turn back up in the movie, too. He didn't.
Yeah, so that dude lived. Mm-hmm. The other part, this is I don't know if a plot hole is the right word, but the, drug addicted girl.
Yeah.
Gabriella, I think was her name. So 2 things. Amanda feels for her because she sees herself. That's exactly who Amanda was. She was a massive drug addict until John essentially saved her by putting her in the trap. But the plot hole with her her trap. So she goes up, she like Peter Pans it up, one arm up in a chain, and then one ankle in a chain. And she has to break her way out with a fucking hammer. And she goes to smack her leg. And maybe this just turns into the boss lady being a horrible person. But she goes to smack her leg first. I'm sorry, smack her arm first.
Yeah.
And she goes, no, do your leg. So you swing the other way. And she just follows her order. But if she would have went for her wrist first, she would have fell to the ground, and the radiation machine could not have got to her.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, wait a second.
At first, talking about it, I'm like, okay, they screwed that up. I don't think they did. I think that was planned, that she's just listening to that boss lady tell her what to do. And the boss lady wants them dead anyways. She does not actually care. So that was an interesting thing that I kind of thought of, but yeah, they all just went for it. The woman cutting off her leg was like, she panicked for a little bit, but she had it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, give her another 30 seconds, she would have been out. So I think that's interesting. I also like when people, it doesn't happen a lot throughout the movies, but, the point is the traps are supposed to be survivable, but not enough people survive them.
That's true.
Which, take that as you want, but it'd be, I don't think nicer is the right word. It'd be cooler to see more people survive and then see how their lives actually change, because the whole reason he's doing it is to weirdly make them better people, like he did Amanda.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, speaking of Amanda, my first thought when I saw her, she looks horrible.
Oh my God, yeah, that haircut was fucking atrocious.
So not only that, but it looked like her face was just like so done up by makeup and shit. Like Tobin Bell, he must be like Tommy Lee Jones. He's been old forever, because he looked exactly how he does now, how he did in the Goodfellas in 1990. So it's like he's always looked old, but Amanda looked fucking 20 years older or something. And obviously time passed, it's probably pretty close to 20 years, but you could tell with her that was a little rough.
Yeah, and that haircut wasn't doing anybody no favors.
No. She's like a little boy.
Yeah, terrible.
Some cool little tidbits here. I'm sure there will be more trivia down the line. This is the highest rated of the series, 82%, at least when this was taken. Saw, the first one, is in second place at 50%. So whoever's reviewing that, you're nuts.
Yeah, wow.
It's way better than that. This is also the first movie that has John Kramer as the actual main protagonist.
Wow.
So obviously he's involved in every single film, but the focus is never on him.
Yeah, that's true.
Other things, this is pretty funny. When editing the eye vacuum trap, people called the police because they were hearing screaming at the office where they were editing it.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
And then, cool thing about the film, a lot of the films, they end with someone saying game over and shutting a door. This one ended with him opening a door. And I don't think that's as nice of a picture as people think, because they're like, oh, he's opening a door, it's nice, there's a sunset, they just saved this little kid. I'm like, the door is being opened for him to go and murder like at least 50 more people. So,
yeah, definitely. They walk out hand in hand with that little kid. It's like, okay.
Yeah, they gave the kid millions of dollars. I'm like, that's nice.
Yeah.
But I don't think there was really much else. I thought the voice of the detective sounded the same as the real guy, but I wasn't sure. But then they actually brought in, I forget his name, but they brought in the detective at the end credit scene.
Okay, yeah.
The hell was his damn name? But that's the guy who. So Amanda was supposed to take over at first.
Okay.
And then she dies because she essentially failed her test. And then this detective guy takes over, and he's out of control. He's making games that aren't survivable, and he just wants people to die because he's a dick. And Jigsaw knows that. Detective Hoffman, that's his name. But Jigsaw knows that, and he tells Dr. Gordon, the guy from the first movie that cut off his leg, who actually is working for him too, to take care of Hoffman if anything happens to his wife, which Hoffman kills Jigsaw's wife, and then they kill Hoffman. So it's just crazy how many people are involved with this dude.
Oh, yeah.
But all in all, very happy with the movie.
Yeah, definitely. That was my main takeaway, is that if you're a fan of Saw, you're going to absolutely love this movie. Yeah. And even if you're not a huge Saw guy like myself, it was still a really good movie.
For sure. Ty, I think that ends it here. A little longer of an episode, mostly because I really enjoyed talking about Saw.
Hell yeah.
So I'm all about that. But just to give update here, I know we just said The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar is now tied for number 1. With our ratings for Saw X, that is currently tied for 6th place.
Okay.
So yeah, pretty good movie so far. Honestly, better than I expected.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. Like I said, for being the 10th in a franchise, that's like unheard of for it to be better than, if not just as good as the first.
Yeah, and I ranked it, just about as high. I put it at 2, just because the writing was so good, and that's probably what the critics saw too. They're like, "Oh, it's good writing." It is. Less traps, which also probably made people happy. But the ones that were there, my God. Cool. We will end it out here next week. Not a ton, Ty. I think we. I did think of a good.
I did think of a good idea. So we have that Totally Killer that dropped on Amazon. That's a horror movie, and then we also have that Reptile on Netflix. I haven't watched either one yet, so we could do a streaming week. Okay,
streaming showcase. Let's do it.
Yeah. So awesome. We got that.
Cool. Also want to say, fuck the Ravens. Steelers beat you yet again. Lamar, you can't play in Pittsburgh. You're a loser.
Get fucked.
That's how we're ending this episode. We'll see you later.
See ya.